I'm 78 years old, and the strange thing is, I don't feel dramatic saying that. It just feels final, like a door most of the way closed. I wake up each morning aware that there are fewer of them ahead than behind, and most days that's fine. But some days, like today, it presses on my chest, because when I look back, I see how carefully I lived, and how much of that care was a mistake. I spent most of my life trying to be the perfect man, not a bad man trying to be better, just a man trying to get it right, all the way right. And now, near the end, I see how much that cost me. When you're young, you don't think in years, you think in plans. I thought if I did the right things in the right order, life would open up. I believed in effort, in discipline, in keeping your head down and your promises up. I thought that was what a good man did. I'm sitting alone as I tell you this, not in some tragic way, just alone. The house is quiet. It's been quiet a long time. I've learned how to live with that, but I haven't learned how not to think about how it got this way. In my 20s, I was serious, not unhappy, just serious. I wanted to be dependable, the kind of man people could count on. I didn't drink much. I didn't chase trouble. I worked. I saved. I listened more than I spoke. People liked me well enough. They said things like, "He's solid," or "He'll go far." I wore those words like medals. I thought approval was the same thing as love. I married young. She was kind and patient and believed in me more than I believed in myself. I loved her, I think. But even that love was careful, measured. I thought passion was something that faded anyway, so better to build on steadier ground. I worked a lot, not because I was greedy, because I was responsible. I wanted to provide. I wanted to be respected. I wanted to never be the reason something fell apart. And slowly, without noticing, I began choosing being right over being present. I missed dinners. Not all of them, just enough that it became normal. I missed conversations because I was tired. I missed small moments because they didn't feel urgent. I told myself there would be time later. There was always later. When the kids were small, they'd wait up for me. Sometimes they'd fall asleep on the couch. I'd carry them to bed, careful not to wake them. I told myself that was love, and maybe it was. But I didn't notice when they stopped waiting. I was proud of being steady. I never yelled. I never cheated. I never blew things up. I kept my temper, my job, my reputation. I thought that made me a good husband, a good father. But I wasn't warm. I didn't know how to be. I thought warmth was optional, something extra, not required. I thought consistency was enough. My wife would sometimes say, "I miss you," even when I was right there. I didn't understand what she meant. I thought she was being emotional. I told her things would slow down soon, after the next promotion, after the next milestone. She stopped saying it eventually. The years moved faster then. The kids grew. The house got quieter. My work took more and more of my attention, partly because it was easier. At work, I knew the rules. Effort in, results out. At home, things were messier. Feelings didn't follow schedules. I remember one night clearly. I came home late again. She was sitting at the table just staring at nothing. There was no anger in her face, just distance. And for a moment, I felt something crack. But I ignored it. I told myself not to overthink. That became a habit. Ignoring the quiet warnings because nothing was technically wrong. By my 40s, I was successful. People asked me for advice. Younger men wanted to know how I stayed so disciplined. I told them to work hard and keep their priorities straight. I believed what I was saying, but something in me was thinning out. I didn't laugh easily anymore. I didn't feel deeply upset or deeply joyful. Life felt managed, controlled. Like I had wrapped myself in rules and routines so tight, there was no room left to breathe. My wife and I stopped fighting because we stopped trying. We lived politely together. We shared responsibilities. We talked about schedules and bills and other people's lives. We didn't talk about us. I told myself this was what long marriages looked like. I had no idea how lonely a marriage could be without actually ending. The kids left home. They were polite when they called, dutiful. We had nothing to argue about and not much to say. I didn't know how to reach for them without feeling awkward. I had never practiced. When my wife got sick, everything slowed down. Suddenly, there was no pretending we had endless time. I sat beside hospital beds and thought about all the evenings I had traded for meetings that no one remembered. She didn't blame me. That was the hardest part. She thanked me for taking care of things. She said I had been a good man. I wanted her to be angry. Anger would have meant I still mattered in the way I wished I had. She died quietly. I held her hand and realized I didn't know how to tell her I was sorry without sounding like I was making excuses. So I didn't say much at all. After the funeral, people praised me. They said I was strong. They said she was lucky to have me. I nodded. I accepted their words because I didn't know what else to do. Then the house went silent. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that echoes. Retirement came soon after. I thought I'd finally rest, finally enjoy what I had built. But without work, there was nothing left to distract me from the shape of my life. Days stretched. I organized things that didn't need organizing. I watched television without caring what was on. I waited for phone calls that didn't come often. I realized then how transactional my relationships had been, based on roles, on usefulness. Once I stopped being needed, I faded to the background. I had done everything right, and I was deeply, unmistakably alone. That's when the clarity came, not in a dramatic moment. Just one afternoon, sitting at the kitchen table, realizing that perfection had protected me from risk, and also from intimacy. I had avoided conflict so well that I had also avoided closeness. I had avoided failure so carefully that I had avoided fully living. There are things you can't fix at 78. You can't go back and be softer when it mattered. You can't show your children how much you care when they've already learned to expect distance. You can't reintroduce yourself to the person you were supposed to be closest to. People assume regret comes from big mistakes, affairs, addiction, abandonment. Mine came from delay, from waiting to feel ready, from assuming love could always be expressed later. Later is a dangerous word. It feels responsible, sensible, but later has a way of disappearing. I don't hate my life. That's important to say. There were good years, comfortable years, safe years, but safety became a cage I didn't notice building around me. If you're listening to this and you're younger, I won't tell you what to do. I don't believe in lessons shouted from the end of the road, but I will tell you this quietly. Being the perfect man made me predictable. It did not make me known. I wish I had been messier. I wish I had been more embarrassing. I wish I had said things without rehearsing them in my head first. I wish I had shown up tired but present instead of impressive but absent. There is a loneliness that comes from failure, and there is a deeper one that comes from never really risking it. I live with that now. Some days gently, some days heavily. I water my plants, I take my walks. I remember faces the way they used to be. At night, I talk to my wife in my head. I tell her things I should have said sooner. She doesn't answer, of course, but it helps me breathe. If this meant something to you, I'm glad. Not because it will change anything for me, but because maybe it will make you pause once, just once, before choosing being perfect over being present. I'm 78, and this is the truth I finally had time to face. Thanks for watching.